Whoa, that's a big sheet. Okay, I don't want to alarm anybody, but you don't have to worry about what's here, what's not. If you put in values in your input cells, which is all blue, you should be able. You don't really have to worry about any of this. But if you are curious, here's what it is. It's basically a dawdle. So let me just collapse everything, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see it a little bit more clearer, even more. So what we have is that we have all our heads. We have the cash flow by month, starting from when we said the project is going to start, and from that point on, we have all these costs happening every month as we proceed with the project, and they go all the way till the end where we are at. Now, because this is a mock feasibility for me to be able to show you everything, what I've gone ahead and done is that I've filled out almost every section that is available for me to allocate a cost. So you'll see that I've basically copied what the cost code was above, but this won't be your template. It will be, when you get it, you'll only get a standard one, so you can go and customize it and add your cost codes in there. So the ones that, up until this point, so every unique cost code that I already have in the master data, that will always be available for you anytime you create a new project. But if you create your own project and you customize everything, you can then pick it up as a template when you create your own. So all I did was I just copied the last cost code because I wanted to fill everything up, allocated a $10 cost to everything. I wanted to show you that if I want to add some contingency percentages to these things, I can. And then I've gone ahead and added some months when they happen and the number of payments that would occur once they span out. So let's say I start with my JV agreement. I know this is going to be a one invoice and I'll have to pay it in 1 month, and it'll happen in the month of March. So that's what this is all about. Here I've only selected a method to forecast the cash flow. So we'd already gone through this section, but I added a few things, gave everything like a $10 cost so that we could project them on the cash flow and see what they would look like. So when we scroll up, we'll see that we have all of these things. So let me zoom out again to show you, to give you a perspective of where everything is at. So this is where we are at. We've expanded the first two cost heads. So let me expand the rest of it. So when I expand everything, you'll see that towards the end I'm duplicating certain cost codes just to prove a point so that we don't have anything blank, and we are making sure that our total here, which is including the contingency, and that is what we are projecting over here, is equal to the total that we are getting from this side. So this is our cash flow, and it is projected correctly. I've shown examples where you've got an S curve, but a moderate one. And if you look at the costs over here, you'll see they start with 1.2 because we are only distributing about $10 across 6 months in an S curve, which is moderately steep. So we'll get into these in a second, but let me just scroll. Let me even close this section out and show you what this would look like. So we are now looking at our cash flow, and we know that this is where the money is coming in. So we've got our drawings and consultants, and they start in March and they go all the way just before the construction starts. So because all these costs and everything that I've got here, they start in March and they span for about 9 months. Because this is a mock one, I just wanted to fill out the figures and show you what it is. And the reason I put it for 9 months is because we're starting here as soon as, even before we've settled, because I've started my town planning process right here, which goes on for 5 months, and then the building permit process to be able to get it approved in the building department, it goes on for another 4 months. So I've allocated 9 months, all the consultants, all the architectural, town planning, everything that was supposed to come in has come in, and that's how this would look like. Now, if I wanted to change any of these, I can change them and then press save and refresh, and it'll basically expand that those costs across that many periods. So let's say if my town planning was there, and I only wanted my town planning to occur for 5 months, because that's when that's what I've got on my timeline. I can go here and go into my add-on, start the add-on, because I closed the sidebar. I can start it. And now that I've changed that to 5 and I click on save and refresh, this will now extrapolate that to the 47,250. It will now distribute that to the 5 months starting from the month of March. So once this is complete, I'll zoom in so that we can see it clearer. So it's still running and it should be done in a second, but as you can see that it started here and it stopped here. Now I don't want it to be flat, I just want it to be moderately steep, because I might not give all the I might not have exact same payments every month. If you want exact same payments, you have to select straight line. If you select S-curve, these will not be exact same payments. So if I go S-curve moderately steep and press save and refresh, let me just show you what it will look like, so that you can better decide when you are forecasting your costs. So in this scenario, for example, I know that it will not be the exact same payment. But if you look at any of the straight line distribution methods, so if you see here, I've got this 125 with 5% contingency, which is 131.3. And what it has done is it has distributed it exactly at the same amount. So this is the part where it is important to understand that, you know, what is straight line and what is S-curve flat. S-curve flat is an S-curve, is a bell curve that is more or less flat, but it's not absolutely flat, which basically means it's not giving you equal payments. So now we distributed the 45,000 in an S-curve, in a moderately steep S-curve, and we've got, you know, our first invoice from the architect at about 833, and then 10, then 24, then 10, and then 833 again, because I've got that as moderately steep. If I was to go steep, then it will, you know, it will rise sharply as we start. So if you go down, you'll see that, let's look at this steep, but this is only distributed among 2 payments. So let's look at another example for steep, which has some extra payments in it. So let's just change something. So if we've got 65 here, let's this one here, and I go and change this to steep, and we have 9 months, but now I want to limit that to 4 months, because this is all my these are all my working drawing stage. So I don't want them to start, you know, from March, because I know that these will occur after the town planning is finished. So now when I press save and refresh, you'll notice that this will all get, you know, you'll get a 0 over here, so that all the costs are distributed within that 4-month period, starting in March. Now, here's a mistake I made, because I should have selected month of August, because that's when it's starting. So I need to change this. So let me just select that. Here's a good thing. If you know that it's in the month of August and you don't know if it's year 20 or year 21 or 22 or whatever, because your project spans for 24 months, just type AUG and it'll show you five different August across 5 years. So you can select that. Look, this is happening in 20 and I know this is 4, so now I can change that, and now all this total will then move on to starting from the month of August. So this is the important bit to understand, what each of these S-curve and the steepness of the S-curve would do to your cash flow, how you are planning your cash flow, and how you are going to project it for your development. The more accurate you can do that, the more you'll be able to figure out how much money that you will need to put in from your own pocket as the project starts. That would include you settling on the block of land. That would include you settling on loans or paying costs or whatever, because the bank is only going to pay you a certain amount of your total development cost or a certain percentage of your total sale value, and so on. And we'll discuss all of these things in the finance section, which is the most important section of all of this. Now, development cost was very, very important. It's super important, but this is the most important, and we'll discuss that in the coming videos and so on. But I wanted to show you, fill out all of these things and show you all the different methods that we have. When is the money coming in? Like, for example, service connection fees. If we look at our timeline over here, now these new connections to the new development that you are doing would happen somewhere around this time, because that's when you are closer to your construction, and that's why, you know, I just put in $1,000 for each one of them, put in a 5% contingency on all of them, and basically forecasted them to occur starting in the month of July. So from July, August, September. So they're starting somewhere here, July, August, September. So just before the construction is about to complete, that's when I'll start applying for these connections. Some of these connections can take up to 30 days for the gas company to come in and fit you up with the connection, and then somebody else will come in and install the meter. All these things will happen. Like, for example, with water, you have to apply for it way in advance, and then you get a PIC number, which is our plumbing industry commission number. You might have something else, and then somebody comes to do water tapping and so on. So these are the things that you have to be careful of and keep in mind when you are projecting your cash flow. So this is very important. Again, this column here is always hidden, but if you are from Australia, New Zealand, or UK, and you wanted to see your GST or VAT, you can always expand this section. Now, this is if you select VAT over there, this will show VAT whenever you do, but for the time being, this is where it's at. For the rest of the world, they don't really need to do anything with the GST section. But in the next video, I'll get into the details of what each one of these things are, and what other things that we need to keep in mind for Australia, New Zealand, and UK. In the next video, I'll talk about GST. People from US, Canada, or the rest of the world that does not utilize GST and similar tax systems can skip the next video and go on to the next. Thank you.